Hi everyone, welcome to WhyBuy. Today I want to talk to you about my favorite rifle, the Mosin Nagant, model number 1948. Not to sound kind of nerdy or anything like that, but I'm sure lots of people have seen the movie Enemy at the Gates with Vasily Zaitsev. He shoots this rifle, but in a longer version. This is a 1948, so obviously it postdates World War II. Watching that movie, I was kind of inspired. I'm like, wow, this is a Russian-built rifle. I'm Russian myself, have Russian heritage, so I was like, you know what? For my first rifle, I want to follow that. Like that's something really cool. So 7 years ago, bought this rifle at the Calgary Gun Show with my uncle, the uncle who influenced me into, getting into rifles, taking care of them, going out shooting. We're looking around. I see this rifle laying on a table. It's very reasonably priced. I'm thinking to myself, I have to get this. Like, I've wanted one so bad. It's time to pull the pin, no pun intended, and get this thing done. So I negotiated with my uncle and the seller down to a very good price, which was, just over $200 for this thing. I know most of them, you used to be able to buy them in a crate at around 180, 200 bucks. So it's a reasonably fair price. Negotiated, got a little bit lower than that. My uncle's a great guy. Picked up the rifle, and man, the smile on my face was, wow, this was my first gun, right? And I started looking into it on some YouTube videos. There's some other users out there who have done reviews on this rifle. Those definitely helped. I got to see this thing shoot firsthand, right? And why they loved it. And now I'm talking about why I love it. And I think that's really cool. Very happy with it. I've had it now for 7 years. Very low maintenance. Ammo is very cheap for this thing. You can buy it in bulk. They're non-corrosive rounds, which is great. You can also buy in bulk. When you go out shooting with this thing, you don't have to be concerned about putting out 100 rounds, and breaking the bank, because really, at the end of the day, they're not that expensive. If you buy it in bulk, typically it'll come in one of these little white boxes, which has 20 rounds in it. They come in this box and then in a little plastic case, which is pretty awesome. There you can see there's all 20 rounds, which is great. I know you can buy these in what comes in like a little cardboard or paperback wrapping or something like that, but I recommend buying it with these little boxes because once I'm done shooting, I go through 5 in a stripper clip. I'll just put the casings back in this little holder, holds it very well, and then I know how much I've shot. With it being 7.62 54, I believe it's equivalent to a 308, which means it has a lot of punch. And this much punch going through a rifle this short, I'll tell you what, that muzzle flash is incredible. It's very accurate as well. It's a high velocity round. Works well. I can easily hit targets around 200 yards. I mostly stick to about 100 yards, somewhere in that, just because it's fun to see the reaction on a target a lot easier. Obviously this rifle does not have a scope. You can mount scope rings onto it, but I've decided not to because I wanted to keep it in its original state. But the sights on it, you can adjust them just by moving this, flipping up. Obviously the further in you go, the higher the sight goes and the longer you should be able to shoot. Not all of us can do that, but wow, what a bolt. Obviously you open it up like that, but the cool thing is to remove the bolt. So for cleaning, all you have to do is just put a little pressure on the trigger, it slides right off. So I find that's a really good feature on this gun, especially for safety, because when I'm handing it to someone who hasn't shot before, I like to just, first show them how the action works, all that kind of stuff, and then I hand it to them without the bolt in it. So they get a good feel for the rifle, because last thing you want is accidents, and we all want to have fun, go shooting, come home, laugh about it, share videos, have a good time. So it's good for, you know, someone who wants to get familiar with a rifle and never shot before. And the coolest thing that I find is like when I'm taking people that don't necessarily shoot out to shoot with me, they'll pick this thing up and say, "Holy smokes, this is a really cool rifle." Like, you know, they're babying it, you know, being careful, and I respect that, but you really don't have to with this thing, you know, like it's built to last, and it's, you know, built in 1948 and it's still cooking right now. You can use stripper clips. I use stripper clips now. I didn't use stripper clips when I first started shooting this rifle, just because there's a lot of technique that goes behind loading it. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to use a stripper clip properly. They help a lot, I'm not gonna lie. You know, using the old index finger trick and pushing in with your thumb. I've had friends who, you know, help me clean rifles and whatnot, and they're like, "Wow, this thing to clean, super easy, super to maintain. Let's go shooting again." And each time I bring it out, I'm like, wow, you know, that I like shooting this thing. Every time my friends want to go shooting with me, they're like, "Make sure you bring the Nagant. You have to bring the Nagant." I'm like, "Hey, don't you want to bring out the 303 or the SKS or something like that?" And they're like, "No, no, no. Bring the Nagant. We'll bring something else as well, like to shoot with." And I'm like, "Okay, sure, no problem." I can't stress enough how much fun this thing is to shoot. You know, you see that muzzle flash and wow, like everyone standing beside you is like, "What is that thing?" You know, "Oh, I've shot a rifle bigger than that." And that's great, you can shoot a rifle bigger than that, but like, man, shoot this thing a few times and you will have an absolute smile on your face. You cycle through 5 rounds and you're like, wow, I shot something magical. So if you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Safety's off.
There is no safety. Today I want to talk to you about my favorite rifle, the Mosin Nagant, number model, or please like, add, and subscribe. These are always the worst. I know, right? And thanks for watching.
Nice.